Hey, thank you for watching Rapid MMA. I'm Tyler. Let's break down Mark Hunt versus Frank Mir. Frank Mir was on a 4-fight losing streak from 2012 to 2014 until he picked up 2 excellent knockouts of Bigfoot Silva and then Todd Duffy. Then he lost again what could be deemed as a controversial decision against Andrei Arlovski. Not either man won decisively in that contest, in my opinion. But don't let that cloud your judgment of Frank Mir, though. Against Arlovski, Frank showed much improved head movement, footwork, striking. Overall, his stand-up has improved quite a bit, and he attributes this to his boxing coach Angelo Reyes and head coach Ricky Lundell. Personally, I think Ricky Lundell is one of the best minds in the sport and a decorated grappler himself. Very happy Frank Mir has decided to really focus on his boxing because he was getting hit way too much with shots he probably was able to avoid. Then again, we're dealing with the heavyweight division, so it's very difficult, but Frank Mir's stand-up isn't bad, but focusing on the fundamentals has really helped him, and he's evolved as a striker, even at this later portion in his career. Luke Thomas of MMA Fighting did a technique talk with Ricky Lundell as well a few years ago. I urge you to take a listen to it. The link is in the description. Mark Hunt has also been the victim of a rocky road in his mixed martial arts career. He's compiled a record of 11 wins and 10 losses. 6 of his losses are by submissions, 4 are by knockout or TKO. However, Mark Hunt is also continually evolving, not just in mixed martial arts, but he's also got a new diet, I believe. He said he's gone vegetarian or at least vegan, something like that. And now he's got a win under his belt, and he'll have the home field advantage in this fight. So we'll probably see a refreshed, a lighter, quicker, and maybe a more conditioned Mark Hunt in this fight. This could be dubbed as a striker versus grappler matchup, as both men are working on their opposing craft. Can Frank Mir's new boxing skills keep him out of danger and maybe help him secure a takedown if he so chooses? And will Mark Hunt's striking and takedown defense keep Mir off of him? Will Mark Hunt be able to fend off submission attempts? It's an interesting stage in both men's careers, and it should be a fun fight. Last couple things to keep in mind: this is a 5-round fight. It has potential to be an exhausting fight if it goes into the later rounds, as with most heavyweight belts. Also, at this point in time, Mark Hunt is coming in as a slight favorite, but we're still a little ways out, so obviously that may change. Alright, so let's briefly go over the techniques of Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt will be at the height and reach disadvantage, which isn't a surprise. That tends to be the case in most of his fights. He's only 5'10", and his reach is 74 inches. Mark Hunt is explosive, though. Kind of reminds me of Anthony Rumble Johnson. He has great kicks. He can cover distance very well. Much of this can be attributed to him using his lead left hook so often. It's the setup, and it's the ending to most of the fights. Mark Hunt uses the lead hand hook so often as a counter, as a smoke screen for the right hand, as a power shot. It's basically a jab to him. If he misses with it, he has another bomb in his right hand to follow up. He's very good at corralling his opponents against the fence. You'll see him jab, kick. He'll use a leaping lead hand hook until his opponent backs up. The moment his opponent's kind of against the fence, and he'll try to corral him to move in the wrong direction, and Mark will pounce with that lead left, get a good angle, and throw down. This is how he finished Bigfoot Silva. I believe Mark Hunt works best against opponents who have low output on the feet and allow Hunt to kind of dictate the pace, get the center of the octagon, push his opponent back. That's what he works best with. Here's a short clip I put together to show a few things here. It's an overview of Hunt's trickiness on the feet and also takedown defense. Against Fabricio Verdum, if you remember, he took that fight on short notice. Mark Hunt found some success despite, eventually losing that fight. Here we see Mark batting away Verdum's left hand. This would normally be a setup to land a right hand. However, Mark simply just feints with the right hand. Now notice how Verdum's right arm is down. This is what Mark is actually setting up, to get that right arm down so he can throw a left hook, keep Verdum distracted. But Mark Hunt was probably anticipating Verdum to backpedal or lean back, but instead Verdum decides to duck down for a takedown. Now, check out where Mark Hunt's right arm is. It is fairly low in case of situations like this. He's able to scoop under, get an underhook. We see similar tactics like this with other strikers like Conor McGregor. You see this with Dominic Cruz. You see this with Anthony Rumble Johnson. It's a good trick. He ends up using the same momentum from his hook to transfer to a takedown. He stuffs it, and he ends up in top position. However, against better strikers and wrestlers, Mark Hunt doesn't fare so well. Stipe Miocic is probably the best example of how to dismantle Hunt. Despite eating a few hooks early on, Stipe kept a very high pace, constantly jabbing, slipping, and using in and out movement. The jab kept Hunt backing up and threw his rhythm off. This made Hunt overcommit to his lead hook at times, and Stipe capitalized on takedowns instead. I think to avoid this happening with Frank Mir, he'll need to mix it up pretty well. Hunt should use a good jab, mix in kicks, even at the risk of takedowns. Since Mir is southpaw, this opens up the outside leg kick, the signature lead left hook, and body kicks. Hunt has been training out of AKA Thailand, so I'm sure he's drilling these techniques. I believe the worst thing Hunt can do is allow Mir to get the clinch. And if you watch Mir's past fights, it's a lot of clinch work. So since Hunt is much shorter, he'll eat knees, he'll be carrying the weight of Mir, and there's always the risk of a hip toss or some sort of takedown from the clinch. I think if Hunt threatens the right hand more in this fight and get Frank to dip his head like Andrei Arlovski was able to, he could probably land a big uppercut on Mir. He'll need to cover distance very wisely because Mir holds a huge advantage on the ground in my opinion. This is going to be a tough fight for Hunt if he can't secure a knockout, especially early on. Focus on picking him apart. Don't overcommit. Keep him at a range where Mir can't pick you apart, but yet he's able to get inside. I'd stay in close in this boxing range, but don't swing. Don't overcommit with those punches because Mir will he'll find a way to tie him up, and then you're just going to eat knees all night. So for Mir, it's about avoiding those big punches, which in the past hasn't always worked for him. I don't think we can focus on that Frank Mir, though. I think his stand-up has changed enough that it warrants a new discussion. In the past, he would throw an inside leg kick, followed by a series of punches, then it just kind of resulted in the clinch. It's not that Mir has ever been a bad striker. Even against JDS in the second round, Frank Mir had very good success with the straight left, but he's had trouble with faster opponents and ones that are able to dominate in the clinch. Mark Hunt isn't likely to be dominant in the clinch in this fight, and he may be explosive, but he isn't quick like JDS or Alistair Overeem. So I'm curious to see how Frank Mir approaches this fight. Mir is a southpaw, but we saw in his fight against Antonio Bigfoot Silva, he stood orthodox and won that fight via knockout. So check out this clip. Frank Mir came out using his lead hand, which doubled as his power hand since he had switched stances. He kept using the jab, then coming up over the arm and feinting with a hook time and time again. He kept feinting the sequence. And Antonio Bigfoot Silva, after he saw that jab, would kind of step off to his right, which was directly into Frank Mir's lead hook. Sure enough, after he kept doing that enough, it landed clean. And from this angle, it doesn't look like it lands hard. But if you watch in the replay from another angle, it just crushes Antonio's jaw and he fucking goes straight down. Mir's stand-up is absolutely grown. And these little boxing tactics will help against Mark Hunt. Probably not from the orthodox stance. I would assume he'd probably stick with the southpaw against Mark Hunt. That way he can... if he's more comfortable with mobility from that way, that's probably the most important because Frank Mir is going to want to be very mobile in this fight. The question is if Frank Mir's striking defense will hold up. It looked good against Arlovski, but he didn't counter enough and spent a lot of time tying up Andrei Arlovski in the clinch, which wouldn't be a bad idea here, but he can't eat the shots that he took against Arlovski. Frank Mir's striking defense stands at a very low 39%. With a reach and height advantage, I hope to see a better percentage in this fight. I really think the game plan isn't too surprising for Mir. Get it to the ground, study Stipe Miocic's fight, and take certain tactics he did and apply them. Make Hunt miss, make him pay with takedowns. On the feet, don't be hesitant, and apply offense. I think if Mir is too cautious in the stand-up, it allows Hunt to corral him, dictate pace, and set up any knockout he really wants. If Mir can be one step ahead, use step and jabs, then get out of range, use leg kicks, don't circle one way too often. It's dangerous to circle to Hunt's left because he frequents that lead hand hook so often. Get Hunt to reach and take him down. I think we'll see a significant difference in skill when it hits the ground. As we know, Frank Mir is very dominant on the ground, has a lot of wins by submission, and his size will probably just smother Mark Hunt. So best to keep this fight standing as much as possible for Mark Hunt. Last thing to check out is their stats matchup. We can see Hunt's striking accuracy stands at 44%. Probably would be much higher if he had the height and reach, but he often swings and he misses. However, when he lands, it's usually with his kicks and his hooks. 3.24 significant strikes per minute is something Mir needs to very much diminish, because 1 of 3 of those punches could end the night early. Hunt's striking defense is fairly good too, 53%, and he has got a good chin as well. He'll eat a couple offensive attacks, back up, and throw the check hook. His takedown defense isn't bad either, but I think Stipe Miocic showed exactly how to exploit it. I expect Hunt to have made adjustments, but no matter what, he's looking for the knockouts, so the openings, they'll be there. Mir holds the clear advantage on the ground and is a bit more accurate on the feet. Using his reach effectively, like we talked about, will open Hunt up for counters. And that's really about it for this breakdown. In summary, both these guys are probably nearing the end of their careers. They both seem revitalized, and they're both still showing signs of improvement. It's a heavyweight fight, so anything can happen with when these two throw fists. Basically, striker versus grappler, but I won't be surprised if Mir decides to, for the most part, stand and trade with Mark Hunt. So I'm looking forward to this fight. As always, the prediction video is coming soon, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I hope this video helped. Thank you for watching.